Hi everyone, my name is Vlad Malik. I'm with goodui.org and we do A/B testing. In this video, I wanted to talk about how to deploy things quickly, keep up testing velocity, avoid wasting time between tests where nothing is getting tested, and how to do that without tying up your development resources and without getting constrained by your existing development standards. The first technique is to have a list of ideas that is constantly getting discussed and prioritized, and ideally the next test is always marked and even pre-built. That way, if a test suddenly has to stop today, the next test is ready to go, and then immediately you start thinking, okay, what's next? Now, when it actually comes to building your variations, usually the fastest way is to inject changes on the front end rather than modifying your side code, add pages on the back end, and deploy all that through your regular process. That can be time consuming. If you do it on the front end, you can do it quickly, you can do it independently, you can activate and deactivate code through the A/B testing tools dashboard instantly. And you can test a lot through the front end. Don't think that just you can just change like little aesthetic things. You can add what to the user would look like new pages. You can save data between pages. For example, using cookies. You can rearrange, add, or remove form elements. You can change page flow. All of that kind of stuff you can do on the fly. Another thing that can speed things up is just think in terms of throwaway code. Normal development process is, you're thinking long term. You want to use standards and existing templates and so on. You want to make sure something won't break eventually, that it's easy to maintain. And you don't care about any of that when you're A/B testing. You just want to get the look that you want as quickly as possible with the least effort so that you can just test it to see if it works. And then if it works, then you can rebuild it using proper ways. If it doesn't work, then you're just going to throw it away. And you don't want to invest unnecessary effort into something that can just be thrown away later. The last thing I want to mention is the importance of having an independent process for pushing A/B tests to production, and ideally having a third party do the development for you. Your internal development process can be inherently slow. Developers are busy with other things. They have specific deployment windows they might have to wait for. So we try to rely on that process as little as possible. Usually we'll deploy the initial tracking code, and then all the other changes get pushed through the A/B testing tool on the front end. And if you have a third party actually doing the development, then there's lots of advantages to that, because not only can you deploy things independently, you can build things independently, and your internal team can just focus on what they do best, maintaining your site, and not be distracted, whereas your testing team can be modifying things on the fly as needed, and then if there's issues or questions, they can coordinate a little bit with your internal developers. But having that as a separate process really can speed things up. And I'm going to show you a quick demo of something that you can do on the front end very quickly. And you can see that just from the time that you have the idea to within the hour, it can be live with users seeing it. So let's take a look. Here we are on the Hardwood and Oak homepage. They have some featured wines on the homepage. I can click those wines, which takes me to the product detail page. And there I can add to cart, which automatically adds the item and redirects me to the shopping cart. So let's say, hypothetically, I wanted to A/B test a different page flow. I want to add a button inside of this little pop-up. I want to be able to click that, add the item to my shopping cart directly, and go straight to the shopping cart, bypassing that middle page. So I can easily do that without involving any internal development, without doing any back-end changes. And I'm going to show you how to do that very quickly by injecting stuff right into the page. So first of all, I'm going to use jQuery to select that container and append the button to it. And there it is. and it looks pretty good just the way it is. So I'm just going to leave it with that default style. But what I am going to change is how that little pop-up appears. I'd like it to slide in a little bit slower in 1/4 of a second. So let's do that. Okay, nice, looking good. Now I'm going to set up how I'm actually going to be doing that bypassing of that middle page. What I'm going to do is create an iframe, an empty iframe. I'm going to call it wine details, and I'm going to append it to the bottom of the page. So normally it would be hidden, but for this demonstration, there it is. It's visible. For now, it's blank because I'm not using it yet. When I click that button, I'm going to stop it from doing what it normally does, which is probably redirect to that middle page. And instead, I'm going to take the URL of that middle page, and I'm going to assign it to the iframe instead. So the page loads in the iframe. And I'm going to add a spinner so the user isn't, so while that stuff's happening in the background, the user knows that something is happening. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to ajaxload.info, and I'm going to generate this spinner that's going to look really nice and seamless on top of that button. And then I'm going to take that image, and I'm going to use duri.me, which is a data URI converter. And I'm going to take that image, right, and convert it to a string. So now what I can do is go back here and add that spinner to my page without having to upload it to any server. It gets loaded directly as a string. Okay, here we go. So here's my new button. When I click the button, spinner appears, and the page, instead of redirecting to it, it's loading inside of the iframe. There's my product description. Inside of there, you see is the add to cart button. So what I have to do now is, as soon as this page is loaded, I want to automatically click the add cart button. And I'm going to do that using my wait pattern. So what I'm saying here is wait for that, assign the product URL to the iframe, and then wait for it to load until that button is actually available. And as soon as it's there, I want you to click it. And that's going to add that item to cart automatically. And the next thing I want to do is, as soon as that button is clicked, start waiting for the shopping cart to load. Because look, inside of the iframe, as soon as I click it, it's going to redirect the iframe to that final page, which is my shopping cart. So I'm telling my code here, okay, wait for that shopping cart to load in the iframe, and as soon as it's ready, I know that my shopping cart's done. Now redirect the main page to that shopping cart. And so there we go. Now I have a new button. When I click it, it'll load the iframe in the background, click the button inside of the iframe, and then automatically redirect me to the shopping cart. So now it looks like, to the user, it'll look as if I'm adding things from the home page, even though in the background something different is happening. Perfect. So there you have it. It's a simple example, but using similar techniques, you can build other more sophisticated variations just on the front end. And working on the front end is just sometimes easier anyway. So don't think you're just limited to simple changes. You can do a lot, and you can do it much faster. Good luck.